Good morning and welcome back to the Sentinels VOD reviews. In our next matchup, we're fighting DaTankBuster, who is on a Lulu, Jinx, Kai'Sa, and I think I banned Zillion Echo lineup. I'm going to try something different with this VOD review. I'm not going to pause the VOD review like incrementally, like between the play patterns. I'm going to just let it play out in full and then give some comments at the end, like skipping back and going to the important bits in the game. If you like this as a concept, let me know. I think it's probably a little bit easier on me to do it this way, and I'm hoping it's more interesting to watch as well. And my hope is that if you're on something like a laptop, you're able to skim through and press like the L key repeatedly to skip 10 seconds if you're not interested in hearing my play-by-play thoughts, like what I'm thinking in the moment. And if you are interested in that, you can still listen to it without it being like needlessly interrupted. Or if you just like vaguely skim through it and then see vaguely what happens, and then you can see me do a recap afterwards. I'm trying something new. If you don't like it, let me know. If you like it, let me know. If you have no opinions, let me know. Just give me any sort of interaction, please. So I'll let it play out, and then I'll give some comments on the game. Alright, here's hoping I do well. It's been a few days since I've played these decks in a lineup. It's been, what, like 2 days since the actual tournament? I'm banning Echo, because Echo fucks me up. And then I'm gonna lose, because I'm not confident against either of these decks. And I'm a little bit out of practice, because it's been a few days. Despite already being not particularly practiced, because of the late notice. Okay. They banned Kai'Sa. Okay, so they want to avoid the mirror. Cool. Kai'Sa's my least strong deck, in my opinion. I'll start with Plunder. Plunder into Lulu Jinx. I want Mirai Warden. That's like the most important thing. Mirai Warden. I just want to match their go wide and then hopefully beat them down before Jinx beats me down, is the general vibes. I think I'll take Shell Shocker into Warning Shot Merchant. I could try and mull both of these for Mirai Warden though, and I think I will. There we go. Yeah, perfect. I got the Mirai Warden, which is the most important thing to me. And we might be able to match their smackage. I think I'll play a 3-3. Or do I just want a Shell Shock? I kind of want to play a 3-3, to be honest. I think Shell Shocker definitely has some logic to it, but they can't trade with the 3-3, and I get to attack with it no matter what they do. And start applying pressure. And I get the block with the 3-3, right? So they can't attack me either. Now this does mean they might set up big attacks with like Trumpet Decker and stuff. Oh, this is a little bit abusive. But if they can be larger than me, then this isn't good. Like, I lose, if I draw like another 1-drop or something, I'm getting very close to losing very quickly because I simply don't have enough going for me. Okay, Bird's Eye Hatchling. Like, we can go very wide here, but who cares about going wide if we might get, like, Lulu Chompers out? I think I will play Mirai Warden, but Oh, I can play Shell Shocker, right? Because it attunes. Okay, Dredger, I lose Warning Shot, Parley, and Thingo. Tuskman. Okay, that isn't Jinx. I think I will attack, because their only positive block will be, like, Urchin into Zerzai Hatchling. I don't have to attack with Zerzai Hatchling, actually. I can just attack with all my 2-strength units and then Unleashed thereafter. To buff everyone up. I don't have to attack at all, but they're gonna... Like, it's interesting. I think I will attack here. And then do Unleashed after. This is bad if they've got Lulu, by the way, because then I can't trade into Lulu. So this was a misplay if they've got Lulu. Yeah, that's my bad. I've lost to Lulu for no reason. I shouldn't have attacked with one of those, I don't think. Got another Shell Shocker. I need, yeah, I misplayed into Lulu. That's definitely my bad. Unleashed is still the right play, but I didn't need to do that attack. That attack wasn't It didn't consider the possibility of a Lulu. I also, like, I am going to lose if I don't draw Zap Sprayfin or Gangplank or Sejuani. Tiny Spear, understandable. Yep. I can play double Shell Shocker, but what does that do for me? Like, they've outvalued me because I didn't go for, like... I didn't keep that Gangplank. I think I had a Gangplank in my opener. Okay, I did get Zap Sprayfin, which I shall play, because I do need to apply pressure. Fracture. I will just attack with Zap Sprayfin here and then play Shell Shocker afterwards. Unless they play like another thing that gets fractured, but no. Okay. Well, here's Shell Shocker again. I might fracture to kill the Boom Baboon. There's no harm in fracturing. I could fracture post-combat to kill the Chompers though, which might be better. It's worse into Biggle Dust though. There's Sejuani. Trumpet Decker. Okay, I'm gonna freeze Trumpet Decker, I think. Sejuani was an amazing top deck, by the way. It's definitely necessary. If I freeze Trumpet Decker, Sejuani might go down to 3 HP. Which could be scary, because that puts Sejuani to get excited range. So I don't want to have Sejuani too low. Freezing Trumpet Decker is the right play, but if depending on how they pull, I might have Sejuani be super low, and that's scary, for sure. I could have done Fracture last turn. Okay, they're going to pull like that. Well, then I'm going to kill Lulu with Shell Shocker, I think. And then try and Sejuani my way to victory, I guess. Oh! Okay, sure. Put me very low. Put me down to 4 HP. That makes sense to me. I might be able to have, like, a decent open attack, though, so it's a little scary for them. If they don't have burn. If they've got burn, then I lose. Like, if they've got the pokey get excited, I just lose here. If I did Fracture last turn, I wouldn't be losing, I don't think. They might be scared of something like Make Rain Warning Shot. Yeah. And what's good about this play is that, like, I still can't block Lulu, because I need to keep Sejuani out of Get Excited range. I can't justify losing Get Excited to Get Excited here. And what sucks about blocking here is that if I Fracture, they can put Get Excited on the stack. So it is a little contingent on what my top deck is. But I do need to block, lest I die to, like, easier to access burn. Do I just block like this then and say I'm losing to Get Excited anyway? Because whether I Fracture pre or post combat, I lose to Get Excited. The only difference is if I top deck something like a Make It Rain. Or a Warning Shot. Well, it has to be Warning Shot. It could be Make It Rain, actually. I can do Fracture and then... Well, no, I can't do Fracture like that. I guess I'm blocking Lulu. Because unless I top deck Warning Shot, it doesn't matter. Well, I could also top deck... Tusk Speaker? Killing Lulu is also just important for, like, other reasons, though. Primarily the killing Lulu reasons. But I don't want to put it into Get Excited range. And at least I can swing, right? Like, what's good about blocking here is that I can swing with Sejuani. And that might be necessary for winning, but... I'm not confident about this. It's a very awkward play. I guess I shall pass. Warning Shot. Okay, so I can do Fracture and then Warning Shot afterwards. So I think I will play Shell Shocker. Well, I can Fracture and then Shell Shocker, so I think I'll do Fracture first. Well, no, I think I'll do Shell Shocker first. Unless they can top deck Jinx, then I'm dealing... Unless I've got Jinx, then I'm dealing extra damage to Shell Shocker for no reason. But what I don't want them to do is I don't want them to develop a unit that can trade into Sejuani, but also force me to Warning Shot early. I think it's better to do Shell Shocker, because if they've got Jinx, I'm probably not winning anyway. Just because of how far behind I am. So I think I'll do Shell Shocker here. And then do Fracture. And then attack. Should I attack or should I just be, like, mega defensive? It's... Sejuani flips. I have to do Fracture, because otherwise they open attack, right? They're going to get excited. I'm forced a Warning Shot. They attack me. I need to top deck another Warning Shot. I'll make it rain. That's the position I'm in. Yeah. So I Warning Shot to flip Sejuani. This does freeze the board, but so what? Their last card is Pokey Stick. I'm also dead. I think my attack is what cost me. The fact that I wasn't able to block Lulu favorably on the turn after was really a big punishment. No, they're forced to block, yeah. They can't die to something like a Make It Rain or Parlay like that. But I now need to top deck a thing. They clearly don't have Pokey, so I think their last card is Jinx, which is possibly even worse for me. Yep, that's game. Unless they develop and I draw something. I don't know what it would be. I don't know what the draw would be, but okay. What's the... Alright, well that's game. Easy peasy for them. Yeah. Unfortunate. If I didn't do that attack, I would have been able to trade into Lulu. I should have been a bit more defensive. My mulligan was possibly also a little bit overbearing. I could have kept Black Market Merchant was my card, right? And that would have given me like a little bit of value that I just didn't have in the game. It sucks because I think this was the easier deck for me to try and beat. But it's also the strongest deck in the format, right? So I'm not entirely surprised. DaTankBuster played this really well. Knowing Trumpet Techer is important to get things out of like Make It Rain range, and Fracture range was really good. Had I played Fracture a turn earlier, I would have been at more HP, but it wouldn't have saved me, right? So it's the correct play, but it wasn't, it may not have been the correct play, but it didn't matter in the end, right? Well played to DaTankBuster. I need to get at least one win, like one, just any win, I think, for our team to get a set win here. But if I go 2-0, then it's like a full tie, is my understanding. By now, hopefully you've just watched the first game against DaTankBuster. And I want to talk a little bit about the game. There's, I think, two really interesting decisions that I make. And by decisions I make, I mean major misplays. That arise from me only having done this matchup like 2 or 3 times. And only realizing that I'm supposed to play Plunder like a few days before. The first misplay, I think this mulligan is fine. We do need to look for stuff like Mariah Warden and then trying to transition that into a Gangplank or Sejuani. So I think getting rid of these to try and get more units I think is perfectly redeemable. Black Market Merchant's a fine unit. You could argue keeping Warning Shot Black Market Merchant, nab a cheap card, but I think looking for Mariah Warden and Gangplank is much more important here. But you do the attack. I don't know about the Warning Shot specifically. I'm inclined to think that this is still a good play to set up a 3-3 guaranteed. But I could have done something like Shell Shock and Mariah Warden and then do the 3-3 on a later turn and coerce this trade to happen. What the major misplay is around here. I decide to attack. Now, this is purely based on a lack of matchup experience, right? It's obvious to me now not to attack, mostly because I've done this matchup at least once more time, which is this game here, and I now understand why this is obviously wrong. They also need to win via attacking, right? We're both decks that need to win via attacking. But I get an advantage by being able to block stuff with 3 strength units against stuff like Lulu, right? I have a better board that allows me to trade into things better. In addition, I think they develop another 1 health unit here. This Unleashed Spirits does get 2... Or Spirits Unleashed, it does get 2 things pinged off while I'm developing a bunch of 3 strength units. Whatever they do next turn is better for me, right? If they open attack, I get to do a bunch of trades that block in my favor. For example, I don't have this trade happen, instead I can trade this into something else. Or they develop Lulu, I get to kill 2 of these, and I get to trade into Lulu no matter what. This should have been obvious to me, and it's obvious to me now, but in the moment, all I was thinking was, my hand is awkward, and I need to try and deal damage to them as much as I can. And I did deal damage to them. I dealt about 2 damage to them. Fantastic Spidz, good job. They get a massive advantage there. it was definitely wrong. And I think thinking about this in this mindset of like, I get an advantage against Lulu Jinx if they take a part, if I pass here, because their development and their attack are both very, very bad for them, and I'm getting nothing by my open or by my development attack, meant that I really should have just waited for Unleashed Spirits, and it would have changed the game so drastically, because every single trade that they did that allowed them to trade up, including like a Lulu Jumpers pull, keeping the Lulu around for an extra turn or two, really put me in like an awful, awful position. I think like, I don't know how valuable this VOD is, only because it's so contingent on this play here, right? And the absolute nonsense of the play that I made really showed just how much inexperience in a matchup can really throw you. But it's also like inexperience with fighting Lulu Jinx as like a go-wide deck that does have buffs, I guess, as well. There was one other misplay that I think was fairly pertinent, which was the Fracture pre-Trumpet Decker. I think Fracture here made a lot of sense just to kill the thing. It plays around Trumpet Decker and the Biggle Dust. I think DaTankBuster knows this matchup more than I do, and he must know that. Well, Trumpet Decker is already a good card in their deck. Like, Trumpet Decker is something they're going to be looking for somewhat regularly. But especially against my deck that is chock full of pings, we've got Fracture, Make It Rain, Parlay, and Spirits Unleashed. They are very, very priced into taking Trumpet Decker. Right? So from DaTankBuster's perspective, they're saying, I want Trumpet Decker above and beyond pretty much every other Mecha Yodel. I should be able to know that's what DaTankBuster wants, and then play around that as an idea. Because Trumpet Decker is their worst thing that they can get, from my perspective, for my chances of winning, right? So I did like the Fracture here. It does double up on like a Nexus trigger, because I've already hit them with Zap Spray Fin, so it's a little bit sad, but I've got to make sure that I'm actually playing to do stuff as well. I think everything else is perfectly fine. The Sejuani block is, as I've mentioned in the video, purely based on what things you want to play around and what side of lethals you want to try and go for. I think I'm fine with the decision I made, but it's not too important, and I think everything else was perfectly explained and understood. At the end, it really comes down to this play back here, which is interesting because it shows how much like a turn 3 blunder can like throw you out for the entire game, right? I guess that's all really. I hope you can imagine a board state where I've passed here. If they open, right, they can pull with chompers. They're probably not going to pull with chompers, but if they opened, right, I'd block this into one of the 2 strength units and all these would trade in. So they can't open. Opening doesn't work for them. If they develop Lulu, they're probably going to override a 2-1. I kill Beard. They do a Lulu chompers, probably pull a 3 strength unit, which would be like Mirai Warden, and then I'd trade into Lulu with a positive 4-4. That probably means they can't do that attack, but since I've got a bunch of high strength units, I start to get a swing in, I think, and they can't do a positive trade into the Butcher. So while I would end up doing a trade of some sort, it might end up being something like the 2-1s trading in with these now 3-2s. I could see a world where I just attack with Butcher and just like stall out the game, because I have the ability to stall out the game in that position, provided they don't have stuff like Lulu, stuff like Biggle Dust and Trumpet Decker. But me stalling out the game does work out in my favor as well. So I think that it was definitely better to pass, even if like they can outscale me because they would have a Trumpet Decker or 2, or they might have Biggle Dust. Being able to delay the game in that sense, I think is still worth it for me in the long term. Even if like in 2 turns there's a world where I'm still losing my board, that's happening in 2 turns instead of this turn, and it gives me an advantage nonetheless. The last thing I wanted to mention was that this is a deck that I've been thinking about climbing with. Because of how this deck has felt in these tournaments, where every game was either a 1 game or one that I should have won, or at least I've done a better in, I feel like Plunder, to me, felt really well positioned into the meta at large. It feels pretty decent into Shurima stuff. It feels decent into anything mid-range like Aatrox because you've got the Sejuani lock. It feels really good into like heavy control stuff such as Feel the Rush, because you sort of like aggro them down because you're on 6 1-drops and 9 2-drops. Lulu Jinx is supposed to be a bad matchup, but I think there's a world where you can add Monster Harpoon and try and make that matchup feel better for you. And if you're cognizant about this sort of play, I think it could work well on ladder. So I feel like if I'm going to do some climbing, it might actually be with Plunder, because I've actually been enjoying it quite a bit. And it's felt good into a lot of things. So the main reason I want to bring this up is that if you're thinking about seeing this matchup a lot, I'm thinking that Harpoon might be a good choice. A really out there choice that I've been told probably isn't very good, but I wanted to at least try it was Dreadway Deckhand, because they've got a bunch of X2s. So Dreadway Deckhand plus a Make It Rain, Dreadway Deckhand plus like a Fracture would be really, really nice. And the last one, which is the most stupid decision I've thought of, but in theory, if mana didn't exist, like mana wasn't a restriction, this would be great, would be Bilgewater Tellstones, because you can Chum the Water Jinx, and you can more powder plus a ping to kill Lulu and a pre-level Jinx. It's a very bad idea, don't do it, but I at least had that in my brain hole. But this was the biggest misplay. It really changed the game entirely. And I'm glad that it happened, because in future I'll know about these play patterns when playing this deck, right? It's sad for Jansport, who gets to see a loss for what looks like a really stupid play. But for me, I learned something, and that's all I can really hope for. I hope you enjoy the next game. So my understanding is that Sejuani is better into Kaisar than Aatrox is. But it's an unfortunate loss, and it's purely my fault, right? Had I kept stuff back for Lulu. It sort of shows my inexperience with these decks in this matchup though. Against Kaisar, I just want Sejuani. Like, the only thing that matters is Sejuani. So maybe I want to keep this up to Turbo Sejuani. Make It Rain's also important for threatening to kill Valor. But I just want Sejuani, right? Okay, well we can do Shell Shocker into Warning Shot, Make It Rain. Or I could play a 3-3 again. But I think I want to keep Warning Shot for proccing on my non-proper turn. So I'll play Shell Shocker. If they've got Zurzai, Hatchling, or Voidling, they can block. But they don't, which is lucky for me. Like, extremely lucky. It means I can get my procs quite early. They also don't have the attack token on 5, which is super important for me. Tusk Speaker. Okay, well we can do Tusk Speaker this time. And we can, like, do stuff on other turns. We'll probably open attack here. Yep. I don't want to get punished by a barrier development. Unleash Spirits is nice. That puts that into Make It Rain range. Which is good for me. Never mind, it doesn't. I lied. Should I have done it on the stack? Possibly. Here's Black Market Merchants. I stole Valor, which means that's one less Valor in their deck. I'll do Butcher. We'll save up for Spirits next turn. They'll probably open attack and try and kill Merchant, though. I don't think any of the developments are worth it for them. I guess I should have... Was it worth Make It Raining on the stack, or do I not care about Broadwing, and do I care more about, like, killing a potential Valor? They've had 3 keywords, so they need 3 more keywords before they can flip Kaisar. If I develop... Valor probably won't get the +1/+. I don't know. Everywhere might apply to a stolen Valor. Okay. I will start with an Unleashed Spirits. That way Broadwing gets no positive trades and I pop Barrier. I'm probably opening then. Okay. I'm tempted not to open, actually. I'm tempted to do Blinding Assault and then, like, maybe Make It Rain and just, like, actually try and push damage in. Like, force them to block in awkward ways, because we've actually got, like, a really aggressive hand. So I could do, like, Blinding Assault, see what they do, and then do Make It Rain then after. I actually like that a lot. I might actually Make It Rain first. We've got 6, a pull, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. I think this could work out for me. Make It Rain to kill the unit. We'll do Shell Shocker, we'll do Valor. What cards do they have at 2 mana? Blinding Assault. That's it. Blinding Assault, Sharpsight, Rite of Calling, Chainvest. So I think if I play Shell Shocker, I don't think I've got Lethal because they didn't develop a unit. But what I can do is I can force them to block awkwardly, I think. I can do something like this. Put them down to a low amount of HP and then hope that I can find the last remaining bits of burn to try and win. I think that could try and work. If they pass here, I win. And they might need to... Like, their best play might be genuinely to pass to do the second skin. They might not see a way to victory without doing that. Because maybe their hand is, like, super bricked. Maybe they've got, like, 2 Kaisars, 2 Rite of Callings. No. Okay, they do block. Alright. They'll kill my units with the Kaisar's attacks. We're looking for something like Eye of Nagake, Gangplank, Sejuani. Zap Sprayfin is good. I'll play Zap Sprayfin not now, but later. To try and get the attack to push through. They're opening. They have no units? It's that or they've got Valor. They could also have Supercharged Cataclysm. Is that enough though? I think I can just pass for now. And force them to do something. If they've got Valor Supercharge... If they've got Valor Cataclysm, I might be losing. Right, because then they get the rally, and they get to attack thrice. If they've got Valor Cataclysm and I block, I might survive. But that's... I need to also play to win, so I think I'll skip block, and then pass. And do Zap Sprayfin. If they pass back. If they Valor, I'm gonna play Zap Sprayfin. Interesting. That's the same thing. That's the same thing as doing second skin. Okay. So they will attack twice more. They challenge this. That dies. I'm not good at Kaisar math. I don't know if I need the Zap Sprayfin yet. I mean, what is Zap... Zap Sprayfin doesn't get me anything, right? Like, I can't play anything from Zap Sprayfin, so the point of Zap Sprayfin here is purely just to see if it avoids lethal. It'll have 2 keywords, so it'll ping this and this. And then... Okay, I can pass for now. Maybe they don't have Cataclysm, right? Like, this is all assuming they've got Cataclysm, which seems likely to me. Oh, I guess I could have stopped Barrier. That would have been a reason to play Zap Sprayfin, to make it rain on the stack to stop Barrier, which stops 1 extra keyword, which might be enough for them to have lethal. They open the Cataclysm. It kills my thing. I take some damage. Okay, I think I pass. And I think once they Cataclysm, I'll Zap Sprayfin after the Cataclysm. Yep, they Cataclysm. I should have done Zap Sprayfin buffline probably. Yep, that kills my units. I'll play Zap Sprayfin. It'll die. I'm looking for Eye of Nagake Boros, Gangplank, second Zap Sprayfin. Sejuani is my best draw by far. Far away. Okay. Alright. I hope I'm not dead. Do I care if I go to 1 HP? It sort of matters, and there's no reason to trade into this. If they attack again, I'm losing. Right? So I may as well just block into this to beat weird cataclysms, depending on my top decks. Although if they cataclysm, I'm also losing. But I'm never going wide, right? I'm never winning through go wide. Unless it's like Mirai Warden into, like, Dunekeeper. Is that actually a reason to do this? Mirai Warden into Dunekeeper? Same with Eye of Nagake Boros. If they attack, I'm losing anyway, right? If they Cataclysm, if they open, I've lost. I think it's actually this. I think it makes it better into Eye of Nagake Boros and, No, it's this because of, Fracture. It's this because of Fracture and Unleashed. I want to be able to ping my Nexus one. Because if they don't attack, and I get Fracture or Unleashed, and then I draw another Warning Shot or Make It Rain on the turn after, I could actually win, and that requires me not to have something on the field. It requires me to have 1 extra HP. Okay, Sejuani was a phenomenal top deck. I'm gonna challenge the 2/2, I presume? Just to try and beat stuff that's like double... It beats stuff like double sharp sight, I think. So I think I'll challenge the 2/2. Sejuani was like the best top deck. I'm so lucky and bailed out by getting Sejuani here. Cataclysm? Okay. It deals 1 damage to the Nexus and 1 damage to Sejuani, right? No, because Evolve is a keyword. Okay. So did I have a chance of winning there? If I had played Zap Sprayfin, one of the pings probably would have gone to Zap Sprayfin. And had I played Zap Sprayfin beforehand, I would have been able to possibly make it rain. Like, at least try for make it rain on the thing. I could have parlayed Kaisa as well that turn to prevent 1 Nexus damage. Possibly. Because I would remove barrier. Okay, so I've misplayed twice. And cost our team 1.5 points. But it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter. That's my bad. I'm sorry for Jansport. This is what happens when you have Spidz as a teammate. And this isn't even the worst I played with Plunder. It's unfortunate. That's like super unfortunate. But it's unfortunate only because of me, right? Like, in both of those games, it's entirely my fault that I lost. It's primarily inexperience with these decks and matchups. Like, I'm sure if someone's played these more, they would be more used to these play patterns and thinking in the proper ways. Like, being cognizant of these things better. And Kaisa math is just hard. Like, playing around the Icathian Rain without it being on that stack is really, really difficult. It's unfortunate. It's really bad that it's my fault that we lost. Like, I feel awful about that quite deeply. But yeah, alright. That's that. Short video. Bye. I hope you guys enjoyed watching that game. It had a bit of a disappointing ending, in my opinion, because it really came down to my lack of experience with Kaisa. And doing like Kaisa math. And I think that's like the most pivotal part, so I really want to break that down. I don't think much else was really too bad. I think everything else early on made a lot of sense to me, so... And hopefully you guys agree. I really wish they just let this happen. That would have been really nice, but they obviously had second Green Fang Warden, right? This is bad by me. What I've done here is that I wanted to beat extremely favorably Cataclysm hands. So my thinking was that, non-Cataclysm hands, sorry. So if they didn't have Cataclysm here, I would be in a really favorable position. That's why I didn't block, because the idea was that if they didn't have Cataclysm, it would be great. Maybe if they don't have Cataclysm and I block, I'm starting to lose to non-Cataclysm hands. And I didn't think forward enough to realize that Cataclysm would do... What it would do is would allow this to ping the Shell Shocker, and then the Cataclysm would pull this and ping the Shell Shocker a second time and make this block not do anything. I should have just blocked with Shell Shocker here. I understand that as a play now, that like, this Shell Shocker will die incidentally, right? And there's no reason to let something die incidentally against Kaisa, right? And normally, like, incidental deaths are fine because you just get to, like, ghost block, right? But with Cataclysm, since it's not a real attack, you can't do, like, an incidental ghost block. So I really should have blocked with Shell Shocker. And that basically would have won me the game, right? It would have saved me 6 Nexus HP. It would have made it so that their Cataclysm pulls this. I place up Sprayfin. They attack me. I'm still at a fair bit of HP. Whatever my top deck is, I still survive. This block, I think, makes sense. And I think the way I would frame it in future for myself is that, like, against Kaisa, as I was saying earlier, like, we're all familiar with the play pattern of, like, incidental things from Icathian Rain, killing your unit so you chump block, say, like, the Belvethi Elder or whatever. But if you're playing as a Cataclysm deck, you've also got to throw away your low HP units, provided it's not making a Cathian Rain stuff worse. And this block just made a lot of sense to me. It's so greedy now that I'm post-game and I realize like what hand states I should be thinking about. It's greedy not to take it. I thought that with how my hand felt and the fact that they do run cards like Sharp Sight, I felt like I really did need to hit at least one more physical damage, and to do that, the best way of doing that is go wide. So I thought in the moment I needed to do it to play to win, but their hand has looked a little bit awkward. Cataclysm's a really big card in this deck. It's like one of the main cards Kaisar needs, and it's a block that there's almost no reason not to do in the end. It's just me not realizing what to do in the matchup, because I've only done this matchup once or twice because, as I've mentioned a few times now, I didn't have that much time to prepare, and I hadn't played this deck since like probably pre-Kaisar. Anyway, I don't do the block. Now, a Cathian Rain math is really complicated to do, and everyone's been spoiled by the eye, and I struggle to do stuff without the eye. I often forget that a Cathian Rain includes evolve, but the evolve keyword doesn't include the keyword evolve. That's something that I often forget, so my math ends up being quite wrong here. I do wish I played Zap Spray Fin to pop the barrier. Had I done the math, it would have saved me a lot of HP. And like if I had done Parlay here, Kaisar would have only had 3 keywords, so it would have gone 1, 2, 3, which would have put me at 1 more Nexus HP, so that when the Sejuani stuff happens, I survive, because I've got 1 more HP on the dome, right? Because it has 3 then, it would go 1, 2, 3, and I would be living, right? So had I done Parlay on her, I would have been able to win the game. And Parlay on her is fine, because if I'm trying to, like, win with a lot of things, I can't... If I top deck Zap Spray Fin, I'm going to draw a burn, and I've already got this too. So the Zap Spray Fin top deck works for me, and every other top deck works for me. And I don't need a Parlay to make any other top deck better, right? A top deck that requires me to, like, have Black Market Merchant proc, maybe I'm trying to steal something, I can just do with a warning shot. Any top deck I can get doesn't get better because I've still got Parlay in hand. So popping the barrier was correct. It was something I didn't know at the time because I hadn't done the math properly. I think it's something that, had you done enough foresight with the numbers, would have worked. And I think looking at Kaisar, the easiest way I do it is just like bounce your cursor on the symbols itself. So I could have seen something like this, for example, as an opportunity to bounce the cursor, right? It's mostly those two misplays that cost me the game, in my opinion. The lack of blocking with Shell Shocker was like it wasn't an obvious blunder to me at the time, but neither are any of these. If they were obvious blunders to me at the time, I probably would have not done them, right? But I've now learnt like this logic of Cataclysm making the normal play patterns of ghost blocking dysfunctional or unavailable to you, and that's about it. It's an unfortunate loss. But I've learnt a lot. I hope that if you didn't know these things, you've learnt something from them, but I presume a lot of people that have played a lot of Plunder and Kaisar are familiar with these things, so the audience is skewed for that. As an overall, I think I played this game to what was my skill level at the time, right? And I know this is like yesterday, so like my skill level at the time I've not like increased that much. But in these two specific matchups, I've felt like I've actually learnt quite a bit, especially about that certain stuff. And I would have hoped to have got these learnings through scrims or ladder, but just we didn't have that much time. We did a lot of scrimming, but a lot of it was against different decks because we only had that night. DaTankBuster's game was delayed, but I was also doing other things at the time as well. But I'm really happy that these games happened, and I've learnt what I have learnt from them. And I hope you may have learnt something too, I guess. Tell me if you like the post-review format. It's much easier for me. I've had to record much less. And that's about it. I'll stop umming and ahhing and let you guys watch a different YouTube video. So goodbye and try not to die.